Coming up on episode 144 of Creative Writing, I'm sharing all the updates and changes from 2018 that you need to know.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight. One by one the stars would disappear.
Hello, and welcome to Creative Writing. I'm your host, Kirsten Oliphant, and this is the show for you, a writer, blogger, or creative who wants to build an online platform without being smarmy. So I'm really excited about today's episode. I just wrapped up a 4-part series on book launching that was sort of an overarching framework. It didn't get into tons of the nitty-gritty, but the things that you really need to know to make it manageable. And you can find those. Let's see, I'm going to have to do math here. So it's episode 143, 142, 141, and 140. And all the show notes for this podcast, you can always find them if you just go to creativewriting.com and then do a / and then the episode number. So for example, today's show notes are going to be at creativewriting.com/144. And I do that to make it easy for you guys. If you're driving and listening to this and later you want to know, you just have to figure out the episode number and then go, or just go to creativewriting.com and it's on the blog. But if you're listening in the future, hello people in the future, then you're going to want to know the numbers that you can go back and find this. Of course, because this is about 2018, in the future, this may not matter. So I feel like I need to have, I don't know if any of you guys watched Conan O'Brien way back in the day, in the 90s, he had the segment called In the Year 2000. And that's kind of how I feel like I should have that, like, in the year 2000. And they would talk about things that were going to happen in the future. And it was epic. And now we're in 2018 and I still love Conan. The end, moving on. So we're talking about changes that have happened this past year, are happening, will happen, and a few things that maybe happened a while ago, but I just want to make sure that you know them. We're going to be looking at social media platforms, email lists, Amazon, and other big changes. So buckle up, buttercups. We got a lot to cover. I'll be sharing mostly links in the show notes so that if you want to read more, because I'm not going to explain each of these, or we would be here for 4,000 hours, and I don't care that much. So pick and choose the ones that matter to you and go look in the show notes to find out what you want to know if you want to go more in depth on some of these. Okay, so these are trends and changes for 2018, things that have happened, are being rolled out still, are being talked about, or recent, or are coming down the pipes. I'm going to start with Facebook because that's the beast, that's the big beast. So this year, I feel like it was like the year of the Cambridge Analytica impact, where Facebook had all this data breach, blah, 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 and it has basically meant a lot of changes coming down the pipes, elections, all this stuff. Anyway, Facebook has been under fire from a lot of directions, and a lot of the changes that have come are because of that. So they did thankfully crack down on bots. And when bots first came, I wrote an article about how they were a danger because they weren't super regulated. So Facebook has done a better job of making sure that it's an opt-in thing. And I forgot what exactly they did, but they basically kept it from being too Wild Westy if you're using messenger bots. If you don't know what messenger bots are, that's a new change that people are using them a lot more, although they came out, I think, in 2017 or maybe earlier. But basically, those are ways that you can use your Facebook Messenger through your page, and people are comparing it to email lists, but saying it has a much better open rate. But really, like when I'm on Facebook, the thing just pops up. I didn't open it; it's just there. Yeah, I guess that counts. It's there, but that doesn't mean I'm actively interested. So a lot of people are using programs like ManyChat to run these automated sequences the way you would through email, but through Facebook Messenger. So those are the chat bots when people talk about that. So Facebook started paying a little bit more attention, which is good. For advertising, they have done a shift where you can actually go to somebody's page, and on the left hand, and I mean, when I say page, I mean where you go like it, not where you add them as a friend. Adding them as a friend is a personal profile. Business page is where you have to like it. On the left side, there's a little menu there, and at the bottom, they'll say like info and ads. So if that person is running any current ads, you can click on that, and then it'll show like a little timeline of their ads. So that's pretty cool. This is a great tip if you are trying to rock out your Facebook ads and you know someone in your industry who's doing really well. Go to their Facebook page, go to the info and ads, and check out to see what kind of copy they're writing, like what words they're using, how they are trying to sell whatever it is or promote. what images they're using. And speaking of images, I just heard, and I haven't tried it yet, but Facebook ads are going to allow square images, which is really cool because that takes up way more room in the timeline and is more visible. So I'm excited about that. They are changing, and I don't know all the details. I'll link to this. Andrea Vall had a post on this. If you upload your email list to Facebook, you may not have known you could do this in the Facebook Ads Manager. You can upload your email list so that you can target the people on your email list, or I don't really target the people on my email list. I create custom audiences, like a lookalike audience from that, because Facebook has the data for those people, and you have to have a certain number. I'm not sure if it's over 1,000 or what it is, but you can upload a CSV. If Facebook can find those people, because they know everything, they can let you target them or create those lookalike audiences, which is basically like saying, okay, here are other people on Facebook who have the same qualities. That's a really cool way to create ads. But Facebook, because of, again, this data stuff, they are making it so some of those kind of custom audiences have to be done in the Business Manager. And for most of you guys, you are probably, if I know you well, I think I do, the Ads Manager drives you crazy. The Business Manager is going to make you more crazy. So this is just something, you may not even be doing this with your email list. You may not have known. Today may be the day that you found out that you could upload your email list to Facebook. You're welcome. But just so you know, I'll share a link to that. They are trying, again, just to be more transparent and careful with what people do with their data, which is silly because we know the entire internet basically is just listening to try to market to us all the time anyway. So anyway, that's what they're doing. So that will be different. As far as groups, they've done a lot of updates to Facebook groups and are still rolling them out. The thing that drives me crazy about Facebook is they roll them out so slowly. So I am a moderator and owner of a bunch of different groups, and I have some features that I've had for like a year in some of my groups that still I don't have in others, and I don't understand it. One of my favorite features is tagging. So I could tag a post like, this post is about book marketing. This post is about social media. This post is just for fun. And then if people come into the group and want to read just about book marketing, because we all know the search feature in Facebook sucks. So if you want to use those tags, like how helpful is that? You can just look at the book marketing posts, but that's only available. It's not in the big creative writing group, which in case you want to join that, it's creativewriting.com/community is our big free Facebook group. It's amazing. I only have that in my smaller, like what was the formerly paid community. I have the tags there, but I don't have it in the big group. Wish I did. Come on, Facebook, roll that feature out. But they do have some other features they're moving out. Some groups, they are allowing you to post as your page, which is really helpful for those authors using pen names or things where they don't want to be known by their personal profile. And they are also adding a chat feature into groups. So you could have a group chat, which is kind of a cool thing. I haven't tried it yet. They're working on adding some features to the live broadcasts because I know a lot of people are using things like BeLive TV or Blue Jeans because Facebook doesn't have a lot of features in terms of how you can actually use live video in your groups, but they are going to bring that out and make it more robust so that you're probably not going to have to use those because most of those are paid tools. So I'm excited for them to roll that out. Again, who knows when, because they're really slow. One of the things I've been seeing them test as well is having mentors in groups, but this is a feature that's causing a lot of issues, and I'll kind of explain. So there's a group I'm in, Kate All, AHL from Simple Pin Media has a really great Facebook group about Pinterest. And I kept seeing these notifications like, do you want to be a mentor in the Simple Pin Media group? Do you want to be mentored? And I was like, I am really surprised that Kate has this because she is really savvy businesswoman. And I was like, so I could just sign up to be a mentor? She has no idea if I know my stuff or not. And I've just happened to be in her group. In fact, she did not know. Facebook has actually added this several times to her group and she keeps having to shut it down. What this does, if you're in control of it, this could be really cool. I would love to have some mentors. We have some really smart, amazing people in my Facebook group. I could happily let them be mentors and people could reach out to them, especially if I don't have a paid product or service that relates to whatever it is that they offer. But that's where it gets tricky. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups where people are just there to try to promote their business, whatever it is, their author service, their social media thing, their VA work, whatever it is, they're there to promote because a lot of courses are like, go find your audiences by going into Facebook groups and trying to get clients. Well, that's all fine and good. if you're building long-term relationships and something comes out of that. But when you go into a Facebook group and try to sell your stuff, it's really clear pretty easily. And I've had some people like that in our group that I've given the boot because that's not what our group is about. But can you imagine a world where Facebook just adds this mentor feature and anyone can sign up to be a mentor in the group? I haven't vetted them, but it looks like I have because they're a mentor in my Facebook group. They could be doing whatever they want to do because Facebook said, I looked at like the language of this mentor thing and they were like, you're supposed to abide by the rules of the group still when you're mentoring people. And I'm like, yeah, right. There's people constantly abusing rules of Facebook groups. Again, not mine. We got a firm hand in there and some great people. But in a lot of Facebook groups, you see people trying to sort of like subtly or not so subtly offer, their thing or put in affiliate links or I'll PM you with details, which is usually code for I'm going to tell you something privately. I'm not allowed to tell you in the group. And it's probably me trying to sell you something. So this mentor thing could be okay. I don't know. But right now they should not be adding it to groups without permission. And that's what they're doing. They also have added units. That was really, I think, last year. And I set that up and then never did anything with it. But you could actually run kind of like a course-ish thing through your Facebook group. And they've now added or are rolling out paid groups, which before it has always been against their terms of service. So like technically if you had a course, the Facebook group, was supposed to be kind of a bonus, like you're not paying for it because that's against their terms of service. But now Facebook is making a way, again, I don't have access to this yet, but they're making a way for you to have paid things. So with the units and the paid things and the group chat and the live stuff, it looks like they're really moving towards allowing people to like run a course basically through a Facebook group, which people a lot of times had them as a bonus, but usually the course material was somewhere else. But this is kind of making that option. There are a lot of little other details in groups that have changed and just some cool features and things like that. But for the most part, those are the big ones that are changing and have changed this year. But again, Facebook rolls things out slowly, so you may or may not have access to these features. You'll have to just check it out. Okay, let's move on to Instagram. Facebook's, whatever, they own it too. What I was trying to think, like little brother, no sister, no wife, I don't know, whatever. They're owned. So they have added some features as well. I'm not super up on Instagram. And so these are ones I'm not really using. I just don't have the time to dedicate to Instagram. But one of the big things that they rolled out in the last year, I don't know if it was the end of 2017 or 2018, but you can actually schedule now and post from third-party apps that are approved. Before you could schedule and it would just send you a reminder, like, go now to Instagram and post this, which is like, I never understood the point of that. Like, okay, I could just set an alarm on my phone. Like, I don't know why I'm paying this service. But now you can actually schedule and post. So something like Tailwind, which is what I use for Pinterest and Instagram. If I'm going to use Instagram, I'm going to do it through Tailwind because you can set up all the posts, set up all the hashtags, set up the image, and schedule them out, which is really nice if you want to be intentional but don't want to be on there all the time. So that's a big one. Now they are just rolling something out where you're going to need a business account on Instagram to use third-party tools. So that is going to mean that if you have had a personal account, not a business account, you're going to need to switch if you're using something like Tailwind. So this is new. I just heard about that this week. It has not probably fully come down yet. Again, a lot of these things take time, but just know it's on the horizon. There's a lot of debate about business accounts. I will tell you, when I switched to a business account, it tanked my engagement, just flat out, period, the end. There's not a debate about it. It flat out tanked my engagement on there. But whatever, that's what you're going to have to do if you want to use tools that integrate with Instagram. Get used to it. Get over it. They have a lot of new stories features. They've got things like name tags. They also have, I think they're allowing you now in Instagram stories to link to different things in your Instagram stories that in a way that they weren't doing before. They've changed some of the ways that it looks like when you're replying to people, replying on DMs and other places. You can actually do that, I think, right from your notifications with a quick reply, which is pretty cool. You can use GIFs and messages. And IGTV is one of the big ones. So it's like Instagram TV. So it's longer. I think stories or the videos got longer just in general with Instagram, but IGTV is like a totally separate kind of thing that's within Instagram so that you can actually have longer videos that run a little bit differently, but are through there. And it's a different app. So you are using your phone to do videos, full screen and vertical, and you can have an hour-long video. So if you're someone who has all your engagement, all your people on Instagram, instead of Facebook Live, you're going to be using IGTV and encouraging your people to follow you on IGTV. So that's something that is important and has changed. And I would say that's the big change for Instagram. I'm sure there are some more changes I've missed, but those are the big ones that I've paid attention to as someone who's a nominal Instagram user from this year. Okay, so let's talk about blogging for a second. We're going to give social media a break. The biggest blogging news, I would say, is Gutenberg, and that's rolling out this month to WordPress. Okay, first, in case you don't know about this, there are 2 WordPresses, and this is stupid. They should change this. There's WordPress.com, and that's the free site. It has a lot of restrictions. I would not recommend using it if you're trying to actually build any kind of business using your blog as part of that hub, because there's a lot of restrictions and things you can't do, different kind of plugins and things you can't use, ads you can't run, blah, blah, blah. That's WordPress.com. It's free. WordPress.org is when you go through WordPress.org, you host your website with something I use, SiteGround, and they kind of like hold the space for you. And then you have your .com, so like creativewriting.com. That's what it looks like instead of creativewriting.wordpress.com. It's creativewriting.com. It's through WordPress.org and built on their framework. And my hosting is with SiteGround. I don't like tech stuff, so all of this was super confusing to me. So that was for you newbies. This is how it works. WordPress.org means you really own your content. Not that they can take your content on WordPress.com, but just means you have more control, is what I'll say. You have way more control, use of plugins, use of all kinds of things. You can use sales, you can use all the tools. It just unlocks the floodgates to all those things. That's what it is. So when I say WordPress, that's what I'm talking about. I'm actually not sure how Gutenberg is going to impact WordPress.com, but Gutenberg is going to be a new way of editing, and I have not played with it. I do not have time. I'm probably going to use one of the plugins. There's a couple that I'll link to in the show notes that will keep your website not on Gutenberg. But supposedly with the November 19th update, which is like next week in a couple days, when you do that update, it's going to put Gutenberg on your site. That's what the last announcement I read. And it's just changing how the editing is. I've heard some people say it's great. It's like drag and drop. Some people have said it's a huge pain and they hate it, or it works really well except for a few tweaks. I'm happy to wait till they get those tweaks fixed, because once they roll this out and people are forced to use it or are choosing to use it since it went ahead and rolled out, if they're not using the plugins to restore the old one, then people are going to find those bugs pretty quickly. And I hope WordPress will get them taken care of. Sometimes I like to be an early adopter. With something like this, I want to be a late adopter because no one really knows, is this going to jack up? Like if you're using something like Divi, which is is it a framework or theme? Divi basically is what you can build your site and it makes it drag and drop. So then adding in Gutenberg, is that going to really change things? I'm not sure. Probably it won't. I haven't heard that much of an uproar, but people just aren't sure yet. So that's happening and that's a big deal. You need to know about it. If you don't want it, you need to put something in place, like one of the old things. I think it's like Block Gutenberg. What are this? I'll link to it in the show notes, creativewriting.com/144. So you can get those plugins. That's on my list of things to do today so that I don't have to worry about it yet. Okay, here are some Amazon changes. For those of you guys using Amazon as authors, this is kind of impactful. So they had a really rough October. And even in November, they're still having a rough time. They had issues where people's books were just showing up not for sale anymore, which is a problem if you're an author. A lot of people thought it was just international, but I saw it in the US as well, that a lot of books just suddenly weren't for sale. I had a number of issues with them not wanting to link up my series and different things. They just had a lot of issues. People thought there might be reporting issues with their payment and pages read and all that kind of stuff. Lots of problems. Those aren't all of them. But one of the things that happened, and I think these two things are probably what caused a lot of that on the back end, maybe other things we don't know. CreateSpace shut down. CreateSpace was a print-on-demand service that Amazon owned. They shut it down and moved everything to KDP Print so that when you're uploading your ebook on Amazon, in that very same place, you can create your ebook. This was supposed to be a really seamless transition. People are reporting all kinds of issues. So just know that it's fraught with issues. And I think when they finally forced that switch, which was like in October, and just really like create space is gone. Like they had some months where like you can move things over, and then they were like, goodbye, it's done. So I think that's one of the issues, but they also have a new reporting format. So like when you go in, Amazon reporting for your sales always has been awful. Not only is it delayed, but it's ugly. It's very hard to read. I use a paid tool called Book Report to look at my sales. It makes it really pretty and everything else. And now why I'm paying for something just to make it pretty, I don't know. I'm probably not going to next year. There's another service called Reader Links, and I have a free trial with them. And so I'll let you know which one I like better. The setup of Reader Links is extensive and I'm exhausted. You have to watch a video. Book Report, you just click it up. It's a Chrome extension. And then when you're in your Amazon reporting, you press a button and it shows your sales. It's actually free up to a certain point, and I think I made too many sales, and so I had to pay. Good problem to have, right? So Amazon's reporting looks a lot prettier. When I glanced at it, there were still some things missing. Like it had unit sales, but I was like, where are the dollar bills, people? I didn't see the dollar. Like, how much have I made, please, sir? In there. And also, again, their reporting still stinks. So third-party reporting is not going to be better because they're going on Amazon's data, but Amazon, they're just reporting stinks. But there have been issues, but that's, I think, because of these two big things. They're changing some things in categories where they're playing around with category strings instead of being like Kindle ebooks, fiction, women's fiction, romance, historical romance, where all those are part of one category till it drills down to the tiny micro tiny category, where that would show up in Amazon like Kindle ebooks, tiny category, the end. So like women's historical fiction featuring bears, that would be what it looks like instead of like showing all the, like we call it a category string of all the things to drill down there. And so no one's really sure how that will impact. They've also been playing around with getting rid of also bots, which are right underneath your the description. There's a thing that says customers also bought, and it shows what people have purchased. I still see it on mine. A lot of people have reported it's gone. I've had days where it's been gone. I've had days where instead of a horizontal line of big cover images, they made a vertical thing with very small, like 4 very small cover images. So they're messing around. We don't know what they're going to do, but Amazon's always changing things. Okay, let's talk about email. The big one here, of course, is GDPR. And I don't want to talk about GDPR anymore, but I'll tell you what it is, and then you can go read the posts that I have on GDPR, because I have a bunch, or at least 2 to 3 maybe. GDPR was basically something in the EU where they have created this policy where you have to follow specific guidelines. You need to be very, very clear, beyond clear about what you're offering people, what they're getting when they sign up. And the biggest impact was in terms of freebies, where you can't require someone to join and get your email newsletter for your freebies. And that's the most strict interpretation I'm hearing from people in the EU. Here in the US, this impacts us because that policy covers you emailing people in the EU. Here's the thing. How are they going to enforce it? I don't know. As someone who is independent and from the United States, I have that sense of independence. I'm like, no, you can't make me give away my checklist for free. Sorry, Europe. That's kind of my response. But I like the spirit of GDPR because they're saying we want you to be more transparent so you're not accidentally getting signed up for 50 things when you go to that one webinar. Because I know you guys have all had that experience where you do one thing and suddenly you get 50 emails. That's not good. So that's what GDPR is kind of is set up for, is being more, making marketers take more of a responsibility for what they're doing and be more transparent. I love that. I'm not going to tell you not to obey GDPR if you're in the US. There are ways that you can update your forms. There are ways that you can set this up to have freebies and ask for an email and give them your newsletter as well. Checkboxes. There's lots of different things. So I'll link to those posts because it is techie and gets really into it. But a lot of the companies that do things like help you grow your email list by people signing up have taken care of that part of the compliance for you. So like I use a company called Book Sweeps, which is a paid company to help grow your email list. And it's fantastic. I really enjoy them. I've had really great success and great open rates with the people I've gotten from my fiction lists where they have contests and then give you something free. That's been great. And they handle all that for you and then send you a file. Like, here are the countries, here is what you need to know as far as GDPR compliance, here are screenshots. So that if someone ever took me to task over that, who's from the EU, who signed up for the contest, that company has done the due diligence for me. And if you're using a really good email service provider, a lot of times they're doing that, a lot of the like back-end due diligence for you to keep you legal as far as email. And that's why you don't send mass emails from Gmail or Outlook or one of those other things. You need to use an actual company for your email service providing. And that's just one reason, keeping you legal. So GDPR was a big thing. It did not end the world, which is what a lot of people thought. But it did have a big impact, and a lot of people went crazy and sold a bunch of GDPR training things, which I thought was silly. But I do have some resources to help you figure that out. If you're like, I didn't know and I'm not taking care of it. Okay, chill. You're fine. You're fine. Okay, so speaking of things dying, Google finally announced they're killing Google Plus. Like the news heard around the world like 8 years ago. Maybe not 8. But I actually just heard, I'm looking this up right now, that they're saying they're killing it, but they're not really killing it. So they're saying they're shutting it down. User information was exposed. So again, another data breach. And it was a while ago. They didn't tell people right away what happened. But I thought I heard that they were leaving it up even though they're shutting it down, which made no sense. And I was like, whatever. I haven't been using it in a long time. A lot of people haven't been using it. And yes, so it had to do somewhat with the GDPR. There were some issues, whatever. Google Plus, don't use it. The end. That's kind of all you need to know. So let's move on to Twitter. I just glossed over that. I spent a lot of time back in the day on Google Plus. Just, I'll have you know, because of SEO reasons, because Google liked it. Google made it. So you should use it apparently, but not now. Not now. It's dead. It is a graveyard. Google Plus graveyard. So Twitter has done some big updating. Twitter is, I wouldn't say hurting, but as far as the social media platforms go, it's the one that's the most not seeing growth, I guess, and not seeing the finances. It's still very big. It's all those things, but people have been worried about Twitter for a while. So one of the things they're bringing back is the chronological timeline. Yay! Shouts heard around the world. I just actually reinstalled that. You go under your privacy and settings, and you can choose to not show the best tweets first. That's automatically checked. It was checked in my privacy and settings, show the best tweets first. When you uncheck that, you see everything in chronological order. You're welcome, chronological people. They also have a new feature I have not used where you can do live audio. And this has to be through your Twitter iOS app for your iPhone. And it's live. You can use it through Periscope as well, which I was like, oh, good to know that Periscope is still around. I'd kind of forgotten about Periscope, but it still works through Twitter. And so you can do live audio broadcasts, which as a podcaster, I should maybe think about using that. It's pretty cool. They also, on the app, will show broadcasts kind of up at the top. So they're sort of featuring them in your feed a little bit more. And I did hear a rumor that, again, they're talking about making a feature where you can edit your tweets, which is one of the crazy things that they have not offered. And people have been yelling about this for years. So if you make a typo, you can actually fix the typo rather than deleting your whole tweet or letting that typo stand. So that's one of the things that they are considering adding. But the people I know that love Twitter are like, yeah, we'll believe it when we see it. But it's being talked about, so just know that it's there. Okay, I feel like that was a lot of information. I didn't even touch like new social media platforms. I didn't touch Pinterest, which I guess I should have, but I didn't. Maybe I'll do that another time. I'm too tired, you guys. This was a giant list. Are you overwhelmed? I hope it was kind of fun. If you want links, they'll be in the show notes and you can read more about the things that interest you. So maybe I'll have to do a part 2. I didn't talk about Snapchat or just all kinds of things that are happening. But this is, I feel like where you guys are, this is like a lot of the main stuff. And so, hey, you're welcome. Now you know what's going on. I think it's really important to keep up with this kind of stuff, but it's really hard. So if I want to know what's going on, there are a few sites that I look at. I always listen to the Sell More Books show because they keep me apprised of the news in the indie world and sometimes beyond that. So for publishing and writing and tools and sometimes the social media and what impact that has on your writing. So I always listen to that. Every week comes out on Wednesdays. But there's also sites like TechCrunch that I'll go look at, Product Hunt, where I hear about a lot of new things, Mashable. Some of those have like social media news. And so I will kind of go click around in there. I'm in some social media nerd Facebook groups. And so I kind of notice when other people post things, I'm like, ooh, that's exciting. That's where I found out about the square images on Facebook ads, which I Googled and couldn't find a news article on that, but saw that it was in there. So anyway, there's lots of things going on. I didn't touch YouTube either. Man, Oh, do I have to do part 2? Maybe I do. I should be more excited. This was actually really fun. I enjoyed it. I'm really glad that you're here and listening. I hope to make all this stuff easy. My goal for you is for you to create content that you love and serve your people well. I say that at the end of every episode. And if you kind of have an idea what's going on, you don't have to be overwhelmed keeping up with everything. Keep up with the things that you care about. And I hope this has helped you do that this episode. And don't get overwhelmed with the things you don't need to do. Pay attention to what you need to pay attention to. Look at what's bringing you ROI. Don't use social media networks that aren't helping you. Spend time where you're getting a return for that time. So that being said, I am going to close out the episode. I've said where the show notes are a million times. So test, I'm not saying it again. Pop quiz hotshot. Where can you find the show notes for today? Did you say it out loud? I left you a little space there. See how I did that? That's audio for you. You can also join my email list to get news, information, resources, and links, and we'll help you keep up with some of this stuff week to week if you go to creativewriting.com/quick fix, and I send that every Friday morning, or sometimes Friday day. Fridays. It comes on Friday. So I'm really glad that you are listening, and now I want to challenge you to go create content that you love and serve your people well.